All right, let's talk about GE Aerospace. Now, you probably think you know the story, right? A giant of industry, a name that means jet engines. But what if I told you that the common story, the way we all think GE makes its money, is actually just a mask?
So, the common story is pretty straightforward. GE builds these incredible, complex engines. They sell them to airlines, and when we all decide to go on vacation and air travel booms, GE's profits go up. It's a classic factory business, tied to the ups and downs of travel. Makes perfect sense.
But then, you read a sentence like this from our source material. A monopoly royalty on global GDP masquerading as a factory. Whoa. Hold on. Royalty? Monopoly? Masquerading? Those are some seriously loaded words. Suddenly, this doesn't sound like a simple factory business at all.
Yeah, exactly. What on earth does that actually mean? How can a factory not really be a factory? Let's peel back the layers here, because this is where the real story begins.
Okay, so here's the big shift in thinking. It all comes down to looking beyond that initial one-time sale. The real magic isn't in selling the engine, it's what's designed to happen for decades after that engine is delivered.
You know, the best way to get your head around this is to think about a musician who records a hit song. All the hard work is up front, in the studio. But then, for years, maybe even decades, every single time that song is played on the radio or streamed online, they get a little check, a royalty. GE has basically figured out how to do that, but on a massive industrial scale. So let's just put these two models side by side. The factory model on the left, that's the mask. It's focused on short-term unit sales. It's cyclical. But the royalty model on the right, that's the reality. It couldn't care less about this quarter's sales. It's all about the installed base, the total number of GE engines flying around the world at any given moment. Each one of those is like a little annuity, a cash flow stream that's going to pay out for decades, all thanks to recurring service fees locked in by contract. So you have to be asking, how do they possibly pull this off? How do they make sure those royalty checks keep coming in? Well, the answer is they've built one of the most powerful, most unbreakable business moats in the world. Let's take a look at how this incredible machine was built.
This whole moat stands on three enormous pillars. First, you have their insanely complex intellectual property, the secret sauce that makes their engines work. Second, you have strict regulatory hurdles from bodies like the FAA, which are incredibly hard for any new competitor to clear. But it's the third pillar that's the real key to the kingdom, something called the mandated aftermarket.
And this is the absolute linchpin of the whole thing. The regulated aftermarket isn't a suggestion, it's a rule. Government bodies literally mandate that for critical repairs, airlines must buy the replacement parts from the original manufacturer, from GE. They can't shop around, they can't find a cheaper alternative. It's not a choice.
And watch how this builds a completely airtight 30-year customer lock-in. Step 1, you sell the engine, sometimes for a very small profit or maybe even a loss. Step 2, at the same time, you lock the airline into a decades-long service contract. Step 3, when parts eventually wear out, that mandated aftermarket kicks in, forcing them to come back to you. And then Step 4, you just collect those predictable high-margin royalties for the next 30 years. It's brilliant.
So just how effective is this moat? How powerful are those pillars we just talked about? Well, let me just give you one number to think about. 50 years. That's how long it has been since a new company managed to successfully break into the main commercial engine market for planes like the 737 or A320. Half a century. I mean, in an age of constant technological disruption, nobody has been able to touch them. This isn't just a strong competitive position, it's a fortress.
Okay, that theory sounds really powerful, but does it actually show up in the company's financials? You know what they say, follow the money. Let's see if we can find the proof in the numbers. And, yep, there it is, clear as day. A staggering 70% of GE Aerospace's earnings do not come from selling new engines. They come from the aftermarket, from servicing that massive global fleet of engines already out there. The factory is only 30% of the profit story. The royalty is the other 70%. So what this really shows is that the initial sale, the whole factory part of the business, is basically just the ticket to the game. It's the cost of admission to get access to the real prize, that 30-year stream of high-margin, mandated service revenue. That is where the real value is created.
And you know what? It gets even better. Because all of this is locked into contracts, GE has incredible pricing power. They can often raise their prices at a rate that's faster than inflation.
This means the value of those royalty streams actually grows in real terms over time. It's predictable and it's protected.
So why does all of this matter? Why is this whole reframing from a factory to a royalty so important? Because honestly, it fundamentally changes how you have to look at and understand this entire business.
It means you can stop thinking about the short-term noise. How are summer travel bookings looking? The real driver here isn't just how many people are flying this month, but the massive size of that installed base of engines that are contractually obligated to pay GE for service year after year. It's a shift from a cyclical story to a structural one.
And this really brings us right back to our central idea. Those smokestacks, those assembly lines, they're real, but they're just the face of something much, much more powerful. A business that has absolutely mastered the art of turning a single sale into a lifetime of predictable, high-margin revenue.
So that leaves us with a final question to think about. Now that you have this framework, this idea of a business masquerading as something else, what other companies out there that you see every day might not be what they appear to be on the surface? It's a really powerful lens to look at the world with.